points that you have to hit in the song. It was interesting with this particular video because Adam Jones wanted specifically not to be too constrained to the rhythm and musical changes of the song. In fact, the first thing I did when I sat down with the song and started cutting the the storyboards was that I mapped out all of the beats, which is usually the first thing that I do when I'm cutting to music. Mapped out all the beats and all the major sections of the song, because I tend to cut very rhythmically and musically in anything that I do. And I showed Adam, you know, so this is, I kind of made this floor plan. I dropped markers on the timeline wherever there's a beat, and he said, no, get rid of all that. That's we're not doing it like this. Just throw everything. Yeah, he specifically said, take everything you know about cutting a music video and throw it out, because we're going to cut this like a film first and foremost, and then we'll bring the music into it, but it has to work visually first, and then. You know, there are a few points, there are a few key moments in the music that have to, you know, have to coincide with the visuals. And he did me the great favor of lending me a booklet of DVDs of short films and things that he collected over the years, and said, just go home and watch all these, and this is what we're going for with the video. So I did, and some of them were really bizarre.
This tool video, the reason it took so long is that people don't understand that 8 minutes of CG is actually a long, involved process. Because when you say like a whole full CG video, you basically have to build like everything that's there. You know, like in other music videos or movies and stuff like that, you get like at least some plates, like a guy that's like photographed, like a street or something like that. So that's half the work done. But here we'd have to build the background, the characters, and everything. So I guess from step 1 to like 10, thank goodness that Adam Jones had these great storyboards planned out, because that's like the first step. Planning all your shots, having all the compositions and whatnot. And you got to build the guys, so the Bug, X, Spectre, the Carbon Destructor, the environments, the mountains, the desert. Then you got to like put some marionette like rigs in them, so us animators can move the guys around. And then, of course, we got to animate it. And that's a whole process in itself, because sometimes the movement doesn't look right, and then Adam Jones has got to approve that. And then we go on to the next stage after that, which is like we got our lighters and renderers who put like the final look and final touches on how cool the textures of X, and making sure all the layers of his ribs and his skin come through. And then the final stage is a 2D composition. Compositing actually, and then we get it's almost like a guy who's doing like a full collage. So he takes all our elements, the mountains, the elements of X, the Carbon Destructor, putting the background, foreground, the clouds, all the minutia, and then putting it all together. So 30 seconds of this video would probably take probably a month or two. And you just combine that for a total of like 8 minutes, and it just becomes a very long, involved process, and it involves a lot of people to collaborate with each other. So I think that's the majority of the bulk of where all the work goes for a full CG video.
We are a visual effects company. We primarily handle photorealistic effects for large or major motion pictures for the whole Hollywood game. But every once in a while we dip out and get to do kind of a fun artistic project. This is definitely one of those where it's not necessarily photorealistic. It's definitely a stylized looking video, but it's allowed us to just kind of can jump back into more of our artistic roots as opposed to some more of our technical ones that we have to deal with currently with some of our current jobs. Which definitely has made it a lot more fun of a project, and also a little more challenging, because as opposed to trying to recreate something that what it looks like, we're now trying to dip into someone's psyche and trying to pull out the artistic vision, which is at certain times very abstract but very particular. One of the hardest things about making this video is that some people might look at this thing when it's all done and go, there's just some random images, or these guys just made some cool random things and strung it together. But the thing about both Adam and Alex is that they have very particular needs for artistic wants for this video, and everything in here means something to them at a certain point. So we've had to stay on a very, very tight path artistically, and then we had to figure out on the back end, the technology, how to get it done. That was actually the easy part for this particular project. It's been, some of the parts have been very easy to understand because they're very corporeal and things we're kind of used to, and then some of them are very abstract in nature and really hard, kind of put onto film, because a lot of it's are just thoughts, ideas, dreams. And that's what Alex Gray's famous for, is being able to take his dreams and put it on canvas, which is it's admirable and amazing at the same time, because most of us can't do that. So for a while in the project, one of the things I've been trying to do is just listen to them, and we would go and just bulldoze through some effects, just looking for any sort of comment. They love it, they hate it, just to kind of get the dialogue started. So I think after a little while, once we had enough conversation and we sat down and discussed where it is we want the video to go, we kind of, I guess finally a little light bulb went off in my head. And one of the main jobs I've had to do is had to, translate that to the rest of the artists down here that aren't necessarily used to that kind of a circumstance. And it's still going. It's like every day it's like, that's close, but that's not exactly what I want. And yes, Adam and Alex are very particular, and that's fine. That's totally cool. They think they're being bothersome, but it's actually nice to have someone trying to push the art as opposed to just putting a product on shelf.
Main role as being a 3D coordinator is just trying to keep track of the myriad of elements that have to be made for an 8.5-8-minute all CG music video. And the scope is pretty large. It's actually bigger than a lot of work individual facility would get for a blockbuster film. It's like 200 shots, quite a bit. So every little piece has to be kept track of who's on what, who's going to be doing what. Fair amount of work. My other role of being an effects artist is making dust. Most of the video takes place in the desert, and you have this very large character, I'll call it, called the Carbon Destructor. It's just a 3-tentacle creature grinding through the desert landscape, and something that large, everything it touches just explodes and just big pyroclastic dust. And that's basically what I've been creating for the video. So it's been quite a bit of work for myself and for a lot of other people here. And it's very nice to see it all come together right now.
As animation supervisor, what I'm doing basically is just trying to make everything move as cool as possible. Anything that's got any motion at all in the video is kind of, had a particular way that it needed to look. And if I wasn't working on it myself, I had a team of animators that I was kind of overseeing and making sure that we were all kind of had the same idea about how this thing how everything in the video should move. As we went through the way that the main character is moving, X is moving through the video, we we're trying to get this frailty and kind of stop motion-y feel through his movement, and just trying to figure that out, because typically when you're working with computer animation, everything is smooth and lovely and everything works in this very smooth way, and we're kind of going against what's normal work procedure and making this thing kind of tick, and he's got this like nervous kind of shaking. And in addition to that, we kind of wanted to add this layer of stop motion feel throughout the video, but at the same time kind of create a new thing that's both using the stop motion technique and kind of pairing it with the CGI stuff.
山田義也と言います、モデラーで、今回のビデオで